What is happening, everybody? We are finally in our new house. This is a new video. I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I've collected over the years. Let's do it right now. So here we are. We're going to go over some of my stuff. This is my video games. This tub pretty much represents a lot of the games that mean something to me. I started collecting video games since 2007, and the reason why I remember that is because it was the year we moved into our house. This summer, I bought a Nintendo for the NES system for $1 at a yard sale, and there was a local store that would sell NES games for $4 or $5 each. They weren't really savvy to video games, and plus they weren't that expensive at that time. You could buy in bulk for a pretty good deal. I've bought and sold video games throughout the years. This tub kind of represents a lot of the ones that mean something to me. I'll go through them sometime. They're down here right now until I find space for them. We have been really just moving things around at this point. I did buy a dehumidifier because they're in the basement, and I don't want these things getting ruined, especially with the cardboard boxes and all that. But yes, a lot of good stuff here. This tub, my games, except for the Wii U and the Wii, that's upstairs because the Wii U is a fantastic console. I have to thank DGC, that game collector, for turning me on to the Wii U. What a system. This is all my other systems here. There's quite a few in there, and this represents a lot of the cords there that go along with those systems. I did want to kind of mention as a side note, I used to collect cards as growing up. I gave a lot to my sister. I kept the ones that I really one of my favorites is a Collier Strumsky card that I have. It's not like it's worth a lot, but I like it. But the other thing that I kept was the Desert Storm cards. I always thought this was a interesting set. I do have a complete Topps Pro set, and there was a Desert Storm set that I have as well. And I always liked the fact that the Pro set, the proceeds of the cards were to benefit Desert Storm veterans, which I thought was a really good thing. And this just contains some extra cards, but a lot of full packs as well here. And this is full of packs as well. I don't think they're that much on eBay. I don't think they go for very much, but just interesting that they had a cards on Desert Storm. Now, another thing that I really got into with around 2007 or so, having my own house, was beer brewing. So I'm going to actually skip over to my beer brewing stuff before I get into the toys. And so I got to really into it. The best way to start out is using like brew kits, malt extracts, and things like that. I got into it where I was doing grain. I would buy 50-pound bags of grain. So I have my grain crusher here. I actually despised bottling, so I ended up buying a corny keg and a CO2 tank. And if you're gonna really get serious into brewing, you need a wort chiller. It cools down the wort really fast. It's what you want to do to avoid any sort of contamination of any sort of microbes. So that becomes really important. I love learning new things, and I would say beer brewing is the funnest I've ever had with chemistry and microbiology. And just some various things here in terms of beer brewing. My ladder ton here, just some pots here. We have some buckets, bottling buckets and things like that. I use those for fermenters, but I would cover them because if sunlight gets to those, it actually sunlight actually has a reaction with some chemicals in the hops. That's why if you drink Heineken and Corona, they have those clear bottles, and the green bottles are the light can get to them. That's why they have a skunky taste to them. And another one here. So another thing that I have are Budweiser Steins. This whole collection was given to me by my mother-in-law because her cousin was a distributor for Budweiser, and she would get a new glass every year. She didn't want them, so she asked if I wanted them. I said, yeah, sure, because I'm somewhat of a hoarder, I guess. And so I have every year except for 1980 and 1981. Those ones are a little more expensive. I just haven't pulled the trigger on them yet, but all these boxes here are Budweiser Steins that I have that I hope to display, because there is this section of basement that I am going to turn into a room, a bar game room. However, I want to make sure that I'm not going to have a lot of trouble with water coming in, things like that. I want to see how it does through the first winter to see how the drainage is and everything like that. Then I can water seal it, all that fun stuff, and frame it, get somebody here to do electricity and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so that's my brewing stuff. Now to the toys. So how this all happened is there was an older lady. She was going through her basement and came across some Star Wars figures and Castle Grayskull. She gave all that stuff, the Star Wars stuff, the old Star Wars stuff, my boys do and will play with. The old Millennium Falcon, a lot of the figures, and things like that. So they will play with that, but they didn't really get into He-Man. So I actually kind of took Castle Grayskull over. Around that time, Super 7, it was around 2016, Super 7 had gotten a license from Mattel, and they started putting out their own figures. They actually came out with a Filmation style cartoon. I think it's the Curse of the Three Terrors, and they came out with figures there, and then they started making 5.5-inch figures, the retro style. And so I have a lot of those. And this contained in this Castle Grayskull are crazy amounts of Super 7 figures. Since then, along the way, I have bought retro figures. There are some classics in here, and then some origin figures as well. This here is all Revelations figures, Masterverse figures. That contains most of them. I still have some that are not in there, but I will be doing videos on all this, pretty much all this stuff. It's crazy. But I will go over too, I'm going to do some B-roll, because guitars is another thing that I have along the years. And that's the thing too, you got to realize it's like, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, and it shouldn't, because otherwise you have a problem and you're probably going to go, it's not worth spending all that money. It just happens over time. But guitars, over to the right, you will see my PV Patriot. That was the first guitar I ever bought. My dad that raised me picked me up from middle school one day, brought me to a pawn shop. We picked that guitar out, and I've had it ever since. It's in rough shape right now. I am going to upgrade and do some work to it. However, it's just the way it is now. I still love that guitar. It means a lot to me. The one next to it, the Fender Squire, I actually, my mom had seen that and asked if I was interested. It was $15, so I said yes, take a chance on it. The output jack was jacked, but the body was in incredible shape. I've upgraded that thing like fully. I did take some video footage of that, so I may make that into a video, but it's a beautiful looking guitar. I did a ton of upgrades on that, so yeah, I may do a video on that. The one next to that, to the left, is the PRS Mark Holcomb. That is an incredible guitar. That thing is metal to the max. The Seymour Duncan's on that, the Alpha and Omega. That is my ultimate metal guitar. It is insane. I love it. That 7-string. And so yeah, that was a purchase that's probably my most expensive guitar. I would never, and this is kind of like a mid-range guitar. I would never pay more than when I paid for that at all. And to the left of that was the dad that raised me. He bought me that guitar this last Christmas. The thing is beautiful. That Ibanez Geo, I absolutely love that guitar. I actually play it the most right now, and it means a lot to me that he gave me that. And it's a beautiful guitar. It sounds great. I like it. I don't use the whammy bar just because where there's no lock-in tuners and there's no like Floyd Rose, it has a tendency to go out if you try to, try to go crazy on the whammy bar. But that's okay. Hey, it is, that's okay. I'm fine with that. There is, and I do have a bass. I bought like a cheap $50 bass. I like playing the bass. It's good. I would love to get a good bass, but it's not something I'm going to spend a lot of money on. Now we're going to come back to reality here. So I got my drink here. And so I am going to build a guitar. And this is kind of like a work in progress type of deal. I bought the body. It was just wood. And so I painted this, and that was a learning experience there. I bought this sticker. I can't remember where it was in Texas. It's a great sticker. You get the Punisher, and then you get the Spartan Titan helmet there. But it's really cool looking. And so I bought a neck, which is awesome because it has inlays, is the Punisher, and these are glow in the dark, and it looks pretty badass in the dark. And then I spray painted that in the back very carefully, and I still have to polish that a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I decided to actually go with a black pick guard, and I'll probably do a video on this. I'm hoping that my old guitar teacher can help me out. I know he said at one point he would, but I got to get back to him. This is a Wilkinson bridge. It's gold out. I love that. And the output jack, gold. These are hip shot lock-in tuners. We got gold. I was going to use this pick guard, but I was like, man, this is kind of over the top. So I am going to take these out. This is Seymour Duncan. I love Seymour Duncan pickups, and this is the Intruder. So this is nice and heavy. These are Fender Strat pickups here, so good stuff. And I'll take the knobs off and all that, and I'll relocate them to this pick guard. But this looks, I think this is going to be a great guitar. I'll put this into here, but I'll definitely need some help just to make sure the intonation and everything like that, the guitar is all set up, prim and proper, the bridge is set properly and all that. I will need help with that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't, this has been like 2 years in the works, little by little, 2 years. Don't buy everything at once. It's a process. And so yes, so this is, I'm excited about this guitar. The last thing too, records. If you grew up with records, I mean, it has this some sort of effect. You remember laying on the floor, folding out the records, reading the lyrics, looking at the pictures of the band or the stage. It was really cool. All these records, the dad that raised me, he said, I don't have a record player anymore. You can have them, you can sell them, you can do whatever you want with them. I said, man, I get to keep the records that I grew up with. Heck yeah, I'm gonna keep them. And I've bought records here and there. The fact that they're re-releasing records is awesome. I've been able to pick up some really good ones. that I'm just not going to get the old ones. They're just going to be too hard to find, at least in my area. It's just not a big ticket item in my area. But I did hit the smaller records on the top right. I did buy at Goodwill. I think I spent like a total of like $15 on all of those. I think there's 150 in there. I think I counted at one point. I spent like over 3 days, 3 separate days, an hour each time looking for the good ones. You gotta look for the good ones. You just don't pick things up that you're not gonna listen to, right? I mean, anything from Santana. There was actually a Warrant one in there. Just a lot of good stuff. But yeah, that is really all the stuff that I have and that I've amassed over the years, over the 15 years that I've had a house. This is all the stuff that I've kind of collected. Hopefully I'll have a room soon for this stuff. We'll wait and see. But it's been a journey, and there's a lot of stories with a lot of this stuff, and I think that's, you know, part of it too. Can I live without it? Yes, I can, but I've enjoyed having it at least at one point in my life. I am going to be doing a lot more videos now that I have my own place. We in the new house, and have some room and some space to do it. So I'm looking forward to doing more videos. So until next time, we'll see y'all.
Hey, you guys want to see my video?